Hello and welcome everybody, and thank you guys for joining me to my next Remnant from the Ashes video. My name is Wilky and this will be another Things I Wish I Knew Before Playing Remnant from the Ashes. I did a bunch of these videos for other games I played in the past, so here it is. I'll show you, or I'll tell you about a couple of things that I learned so far that would have helped me when I knew them before playing the game or before really getting into the game. So maybe this is something for you. If there's anything I missed, anything unclear, as usual, bump it down into the comment section. Wow, that was bad. Bump it down into the comment section, and I will definitely get back at you. Anything that's unclear, I might have forgotten, you think that's vitally important, or maybe that's something unclear or I got completely wrong. Feel free to let me know, and I will catch you guys afterwards. So the first thing that you will very early into the game encounter is a select your archetype menu or screen that you'll find yourself in. Now that was a little bit of a breaking point for me because I thought this is gonna determine how my playstyle is gonna be or how the game progresses for me. But fear not, all this really does is it sets you up with a basic set of equipment that kind of falls into three categories. You have the Hunter, which is specialized in range damage. Then you have the Ex-Cultist, which is sort of like the in-between thingy. And you have the Scrapper, which is a more close range guy. But all of that, what it really does, it sets you up with the different pieces of equipment at the start. And that is it. Very early, after like a bunch of missions at the start, you can buy pretty much every piece of equipment from the other two classes or archetypes. There's no locking into a certain class. You don't really get punished for using one class or another. You don't really have to worry about using anything specific or missing out on anything. So feel free to choose whatever suits your playstyle, but do not worry about it too much because you can pretty much just buy and get everything else the other classes are using too. So don't worry about it too much. Also very early into the game, which is pretty much after the, I guess I'd call it the tutorial area, once you are thrown into the real game, you will come to the Founder's Hideout and find something called the Ward 13 keycard on this table. Now this event is the same for everybody. This is a story streamlined event, so there's no randomness in there. And with this keycard, I will note it down here that this is sort of spoiling you a little bit, so if you don't want to see any spoilers, I highly suggest skipping over this. I'll put timestamps into the description below so you can jump to each of the things here. But if you're still interested and you don't mind a little bit of a spoiler, it's not really a story spoiler itself, so don't worry about that, but it still kind of takes you to a place which you probably wouldn't reach that early. So you've been warned. If you're still here, then I will show you what you can do with this item, or rather what you can get that'll help you on your journey in Remnant from the Ashes. So it shouldn't be too long that you did a certain reactor event down here. But instead of going to the reactor, we're going to be going one level further down to B2, going straight through here, and now this terminal is, you guessed it, we're going to be using the Ward 13 keycard here. Now we get access to this area here, and there are a bunch of things here, materials, top of knowledge, stuff like that, but what I'm going to be showing you, whoops, wrong door, this is the one we're going to take, and this little recorder, if you press on it, you will get a trait called Elder Knowledge, and this trait increases the bonus or XP gained by killing or through killing mobs by a set amount. At max level, this is going to be a bonus of 35%, so this one will help you as soon as you get this, and as early as you can level this one up, it'll help you quite a bit in order to progress faster, so this is definitely something that I pick up early on. The next thing I wanted to talk about is dying, or generally things that revolve around dying and consumables. So first of all, dying does not make you lose anything, not like Soulsborne games where you lose your currency, your souls, or salt, or whatever type of Soulsborne game you may have played in the past. You do not lose anything except maybe for your sanity or your dignity, but jokes aside, there's no fear, or rather no reason to not try out things. Don't be afraid to try out tactics at a boss. If you cannot dodge left, try dodging right, straight right, straight forward. Really, if you die, there's nothing you lose. So feel free to try out things. It's not as brutal as, for example, as in other games. And there's one other thing that I'd like to mention, and that is the item is quite filled with consumable items, or buffs rather, and there are, I'd like to call them, 3 different types. Now there are these very short-lived, I guess, burst type of things. For example, there's adrenaline, there's frenzy dust, These are very, very short-lived buffs. You can see that these last only 30 seconds. So these are rather either to help you in a pinch or just give you a really, really quick boost to either overcome a difficult situation or help you clear out an area or something. Then there are things like, for example, the Ethereal Orb Hydrocoolant. These do not only remove a status effect, but they will also give you a 30% resistance against said debuff you just removed. Keep in mind though, even though they last 10 minutes, you will lose those on death. So if you die, these 10-minute buffs, even if you have like 8 minutes left or something, they will be removed. So this is important to keep in mind, especially if you run towards a boss or try to kill a boss. Make sure that you're actually like set, or you think that you can take them on before chugging these buffs. While you can buy them at NPCs, for example, we can see that we can buy the Ethereal Orb and Hydrocoolant and stuff like that for 50 scrap, which is not a whole lot. It's generally advisable to not spam those unless you really do not need any of your scraps anymore, then you can just stockpile them, but generally these buffs are not permanent. And then there's a third type of buff, what I like to call them. These are not permanent, but for example, you have Mudtooth Stew. This is a buff you can buy relatively, it really depends on your seed. Maybe you'll meet the NPC, maybe you don't meet it, but generally it even says so in the tooltip that this one increases max time by 25, lasts 60 minutes, so this is really more of a buff, not like a short-term either remedy to a status or like a quick burst. This is something that lasts for 60 minutes and it also stays in effect after death, so you do not lose that. You have this buff on for 60 minutes regardless if you die countless times at a boss, regardless if you just clear a dungeon normally, or if you just sit in town, the buff just is there for 60 minutes. So keep that in mind. Losing, there's no loss on death except for any buffs that do not have this thingy written here that'll stay after death. A combo tip, or something that I experienced very early on and which allowed me to use certain guns much more efficiently, is about reload speed and, or I guess the animation if you will, and how reload works in conjunction with dodge. So the first thing I want to tell you is that reloading is not interrupted by dodging or rolling. This is incredibly important because it enables some weapons to be much more efficient or useful than they would be in other games where rolling or dodging would usually cancel out the animation. For example, I currently have the hunting pistol and the crossbow. Both of these only can shoot once before you have to reload them. So for example, I shoot once, it reloads, and I can shoot again. Now if you see, I'll shoot, reload, and dodge backwards, but it's still reloaded. So as I said, any form of normal dodge does not cancel out. Same goes for rolls. If I just roll forward, and it does not really matter, you can shoot, reload, and just roll, and it's there. So it really does, there's no time frame, there's no timing to it. Just shoot, reload, roll, or shoot, reload, dodge, or shoot, reload, dodge backwards, or whatever you want to do, and it'll just reload. So this is incredibly important for these types of guns, because I think this is the only way these guns are having, or at least I'm having so much fun with these guns. The other thing I wanted to know, maybe you'll notice it, but if not, let's take a look at how long the reload takes. So you kind of shoot the bullet, he stays there for like half a second maybe, and then he goes for the reload. And now look at that. You can probably spot the difference, that it's like instant gunslinger feel. Same goes for the crossbow. I shoot, he kind of waits for the bolt to hit, and then there's the reload, but you can speed this up quite fast. And all you have to do there is press the reload key as soon as your shot fires, and you can reload quite instantly. This is, as I said, it makes these weapons a lot stronger and a lot more viable compared to standard reloading. I know it's a little bit annoying, but really, if you play with these guns, and I play with these guns quite a lot because I like the Slayer set, then definitely don't feel afraid to roll, and also don't feel afraid to shoot, press reload, and do anything else afterwards. So the next thing I'm going to be talking about is certain events, bosses, NPCs, stuff like that have different or optional things that you could potentially do. Now, if you played Soulsborne games, you pretty much know how dragons work, or what the specialty, I guess, about dragons is. You guessed it, it's pretty much the same about this one here you're just seeing on the video. But there's also other things that is very similar to what they did in Lords of the Fallen or The Surge if you played that. That if you defeat bosses in a specific way, or destroy certain parts, or do things like that, you can potentially alter the rewards you get. So by saying that, or why I want to say that is, that if you don't want to get locked out, or you do want to know up front, then what you could do, which, as I said, spoils a little bit, but you could do a little bit of research about a certain boss or encounter in order to see what kind of rewards are at stake. So if you prefer, for example, reward A, and you have to read up and see, like, for reward A you have to do this and that, but if you want to reward B, you don't have to do this and that, then there you have the option. So what I'm recommending is, if you don't want to feel you're left behind, or kind of that the game screwed you over by not telling you about this, then I'd highly recommend doing a little bit of research. Do not spoil it too much, just pretty much Google up the boss or the certain event you're at, and see if there are potentially different options you can choose, and if so, what the options are, what you have to do in order to get them. As I said in this video, you see me break off the tail of this dragon, So a bit of a general information I want to give you here, that a lot of the random procedural generation is thrown around when it comes to Remnant from the Ashes, and they pretty much proclaim that no run or no campaign is the same as any other. While that technically holds true, there is a little bit of information that you want to know. The storyline elements are pretty much identical. There are elements in the game that are the same for everybody. For example, meeting the root mother in the church, obviously finale and everything, that is the same. However, there are pretty much randomly generated dungeons in between. So the Earth may not look like, or pretty much the Earth does not look like the same as it does on my campaign if you watch my videos. Your Earth is going to be different looking from your friend's Earth, yada yada yada. So there are definitely a lot of random elements in the game, but there are also story elements that are the same. Which brings me to my point is, it's definitely worth, especially on your first campaign. If you're starting out and you're playing your first campaign, I really highly recommend checking out every nook and cranny. Go to every portal you can, because you may not encounter these portals anytime soon again, which will potentially lock you out from getting certain items, traits, gear, whatsoever. Most gear is usually either hidden behind a boss or some kind of, I guess, event or map. So if you have the chance to get potentially a lot of these items in your first campaign, and you do have that, I highly recommend doing so, because if you run a second campaign, maybe a third, and then you start waking up or seeing you're playing with friends, maybe with other people, and see, oh, you have this cool gun or you have this cool armor, where did you get it? And then you either start looking it up, or he can tell you it's a random event on this map or on that map, and you could have had that if you just checked it out, and now you have to re-roll until you get that seed. This can be quite frustrating, so definitely check out your map, especially every side mission, every portal that's not linked to the main storyline. Go there, do it. It might only be a room, it might only be an NPC, but it may very well be another dungeon, which leads to another dungeon, which leads to a boss, which leads to either different traits, better gear, different gear, all that thing. So highly recommend it to check out every beast or every bit and piece of your campaign, especially if it's your first one, until you get a feel for the game and until you have amassed a plethora of equipment. Then you can be a little bit more picky, but at the start, definitely check out everything in order to maximize your efficiency and potentially find every item you can find. So the last piece of information I want to give you, rather it's a two-folded thing I guess, is upgrading and the difficulty of the game. So the first thing you have to know is that the game calculates the difficulty depending on the amount, or rather the upgrades of your gear. Now what that means, I'll try to explain it a little bit by showing you my gear. So the game takes a look at the highest piece of equipment, and for the sake of simplicity, this is important, please listen to me on that one. For the sake of simplicity, I took out everything that is the highest in each slot and equipped it. Because what the game does, it takes the highest amount, or the highest upgraded item, which means the highest gear level, if you will, per slot, and takes that together and takes an average out of that. So it's important to note that even if you have a plus 15 weapon and you decide to use a plus 5 one because you think it's better suited for that area, or you don't like using your plus 15 anymore, the game will still use that plus 15 weapon to calculate the difficulty. It'll always take the highest gun or piece of armor per slot in order to calculate your difficulty. So you cannot kind of cheat the system by using anything that's lower just because you think that'll lower the difficulty, because it does not. It does very much depend on how high your maximum or your max item is per slot. So what that implies is really, or rather what I would highly recommend you doing is first of all, do not go yanking up one gun or one piece of armor just because you like it as much, because that'll hamstring you and it'll not only slow you down, but also it kind of skews the difficulty up to a level where you might either not feel comfortable or where you might find yourself only using that one specific item because everything else just feels weak. So what I really recommend is, if you find pieces of equipment that you're comfortable using, slowly start taking it up. Do not go completely rampant and put it up to +8 while the rest is only +3. What I recommend in that specific way, for example, would be get everything to +5 and leave it there. Now, the way the difficulty works, or rather how you can see or determine that, is if you open your inventory and press or open the advanced info. If you're on PC, that should be the X key, or web snip. If you're on PC, that's actually R key, not X. And if you are on console, that's the respective key to open these advanced infos. At the very, very bottom, you will see something called rating versus zone. Now, since there's absolutely no tooltip and information, what that actually does is it pretty much calculates your gear and compares it to the difficulty setting, or the strength, I guess, of the enemies you'll encounter in the map. Now, for me in this map, since I'm in Ward 13 and this is the starting area, I'm currently very well equipped in terms of offense and very well equipped in terms of defense. I'll show you a screenshot of a different area where I was. You see in the offense slot, I have a diamond shape, which pretty much tells you that you're round about averagely equipped, so you shouldn't have too much trouble dealing damage, but you're not completely overkilling everything. And as you can see on the defense, it even says a red arrow down, so that kind of tells me, or the game tries to tell me, that my armor is a little bit weak and I should be either taking extra precautions or potentially upgrade your armor a little bit in order to get that back up to a square shape. Now, another important thing to note is that this rating versus zone, or rather the damage difficulty, or the difficulty itself, which I talked about with the averages here, is calculated once you enter the area. So if you enter the area and you have very shitty gear and everything's like diamond shaped, it'll always be that way. If you then go to proceed and upgrade your gear and you go back to an older area, naturally the rating versus zone is going to be looking that way. Now, a lot of people complain about that because they said that leveling up your gear kind of punishes you because it artificially increases up the difficulty, which is sort of true. What is not included in this calculation, compared like rating versus zone, only as it takes these 6 slots, it does not take any of your accessories, so charms and rings do not matter. Most importantly, traits do not matter. So eventually, the longer you play, the better, the more traits you first of all have, and the higher level the traits will be. So leveling up does always make you stronger in the long run. I just really, really recommend not completely overpowering yourself with equipment, because that'll, as I said, it might hamstring you on one way or another. I'll post a link in the description to a Reddit post which pretty much explains all of this in much more detail in a written form. So if this was kind of a little bit confusing for you, feel free to check out the link in the description or post a comment down below and I'll try to answer whatever there's left to answer. Anyways, this is all I wanted to give you for my things I wish I knew before playing Remnant from the Ashes. I still have a blast with this game. These are just a couple things that would have made my life a lot easier if I would have known that earlier, so maybe this will help you on a journey. I hope it will help some of you guys, and if it did, as I said, leave a comment down below if there's anything I might have missed, anything worth noting, maybe something I got wrong or you didn't understand correctly. Just feel free to let me know, and I will catch you guys next time.